And we are back.
It had to take some time. So essentially, we can see with these maps that the British are going towards the middle more and more and taking over much more land. And it became more profit oriented instead of trade because of the Industrial Revolution, and Indians were forced to buy British made goods. And along with this, Indian goods were not allowed to compete with British goods. There was racism and classes that controlled the population, and the local producers and handloom textile industry of India was put out of business.
And so this next one is about sort of resistance and rebellions to British rule, and a lot of people know about the Sepoy Rebellion, which we'll get to, but this one is really interesting. It's about literary resistance to British rule, and so playwrights, so it's like Man, they created characters who symbolize British colonial leaders, and sometimes even challenge the crown. And one of the quotes that I really liked was, "In less than a split second, I can sweep you off your throne." And this was a character not talking to anyone sort of even remotely related to a king or a queen, but it was allegorical for the Indian people saying that they could rebel at any time. And even nationalism with quotes like "Why treat an avowed enemy with kindness?" And that was from Mahadeo Mahaiskar. And so the literary resistance to British nationalism was very cool.
Here we have multiple pictures depicting the Sepoy Rebellion. It was from 1857 to 1859, and it's called the First War of Independence, although there were many rebellions before this. This is just a major one. It was unsuccessful against British rule in India. It began in Meerut by Indian troops, called sepoys, in the service of the British East India Company. There was much more to it than just being a sepoy mutiny, though. The belief in British dominance in Indian political, economic, and cultural life had been introduced in India about 1820. Everywhere, the old Indian aristocracy was being replaced by British officials. Another concern was the increasing pace of westernization. Missionaries were challenging the religious beliefs of the Hindus. There was a widespread belief that the British aimed at breaking down the caste system. The introduction of Western methods of education was a direct challenge to orthodoxy, both Hindu and Muslim. The spark that lit the match was the rumor that the grease used to lubricate the cartridges was a mixture of pigs and cows' lard, a fact that is an insult to both Muslims and Hindus. This added to the larger suspicion that the British were trying to undermine Indian traditional society. And so the Sepoy Rebellion began. And this is extract from the Delhi Gazette newspaper of June 1858, and it directly correlates to the Sepoy Rebellion. And if you read through this, there are undertones of racism. Um, like the enemy evacuated the fort, my cavalry and artillery are in pursuit. Um, another indication of nationalism was the Indian National Congress, as pictured here. And later, Gandhi would be the leader of the Indian National Congress. And they first convened in December 1885, though the idea of an Indian nationalist movement opposed to British rule dated from the 1850s. The Congress at first passed fairly moderate reform resolutions, though many within the organization were becoming radicalized by the increased poverty that accompanied British imperialism. In the early 20th century, elements within the party began to endorse a policy of Swadeshi, of our own country, which called on Indians to boycott imported British goods